Welcome and thank you for joining us for our weekly object talk. My name is Eliana and I'm a member of the learning team here at the Jewish Museum. Today you are joining us for an object talk on a wedding veil from the Bukharan Jewish Community. This object is one of over 40,000 objects in the Jewish Museum London designated collection. It shows the diversity of Jewish life and history, and our programs exist to explore the connections between faiths and cultures. I'm now going to share my screen so that we can have a look at the object together. This wedding veil is from the Bukharan Jewish Community and dates back to 1927. We can see that the veil is handmade and triangular and made of coarse cream netting. It is hemmed at the edges and decorated with gold sequins sewn with yellow thread. The pattern features two large rosettes in the center of the veil, linked by a vertical line, surrounded by straight lines radiating outwards. The remaining area is covered with small circles of sequins, and there are continuous lines of sequins around the hem, with an adjacent wave pattern. The Bukharan Jewish Community mainly trace their roots to Uzbekistan and the surrounding countries. Bukhara, which is the red dot on the map, was a city on the Silk Road, which gave its name to the Jewish communities in Central Asia, from the Caspian Sea to modern-day Pakistan. This community is from the Mizrahi, or Eastern branch of Judaism, and they have their own food, customs, dress, and language of Judeo-Tajik. Throughout history, there were changes in regional powers, from Islamic rulers to the Soviet Union, which influenced and affected this Jewish community in different ways, allowing them to develop a unique form of Judaism. Due to waves of anti-Semitic persecution and threat of forced assimilation, many of this community has now immigrated to elsewhere. Today, many Jewish people with Bukharan roots reside mainly in the USA or Israel, with 25,000 to 35,000 still residing in Uzbekistan and fewer still in Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. Around the time when this object came into being, the Stalinist regime began the process of eradicating Judaism and religion in general from its empire after looking favorably on the Bukharan Jewish community for their support of the Soviet takeover in the first place. Many synagogues were shut down in the 1920s and 30s, leaving only one synagogue in each of the large Jewish communities by the 1940s, and practicing Judaism became increasingly difficult. In the 1920s and 30s, 4,000 Bukharans left the region, but they had to do so secretly due to anti-immigration regulations. This gives us an idea as to the difficulties that the communities were facing at the time, but celebrations boasting unique Jewish customs and traditions still took place, such as weddings. Now, as we bring our attention back to the object in question, it brings to mind the tradition of veil wearing at weddings. Many people have the tradition of wearing a veil at their wedding to partially cover their face before being unveiled at their wedding ceremony. The first record in Judaism of veiling connected to weddings is in the Torah, when Rebecca covers herself with a veil before marrying Isaac. Today, there are many different reasons why Jewish people may veil at weddings. Some argue it is to show that after the wedding, a bride may have an added level of modesty, like covering her hair to show that she's married. It could also symbolize that marriage is not about judging a person on their appearance. It could also represent that, according to Jewish tradition, one of the husband's obligations to his new wife is to clothe her. Another common reason is that it reminds people of the story in the Torah when Jacob is tricked by Laban into marrying Leah before Rachel, as her face was covered by her veil. Other Jewish wedding traditions include getting married under a canopy or a chuppah to symbolize the home, breaking a glass, reciting 7 blessings, and the bride encircling the groom. However, different streams of Judaism celebrate weddings in different ways. Some progressive streams of Judaism may choose not to include veiling in their ceremonies or may adapt this practice. This veil is part of a traditional Bukharan Jewish wedding outfit belonging to Yafa Kalendarova for her wedding to Misha Abraham on 17th of August 1927. She was 19 years old and got married in Kokand, Eastern Uzbekistan. The veil was worn over a brocade hat and fixed with a gold ornament, the pakona. The veil was accompanied by this Bukharan peach-style peach silk wedding gown, which is also part of our collection. Yafa Kalendarova's wedding was celebrated over 2 days. The first day in Yafa's parents' house with her female friends, and the second in her husband's house with more relatives and friends. The Kalendarev family were wealthy textile manufacturers, but after the Russian Revolution, their property was confiscated. Yafa's husband, Misha Abram, was arrested in 1928 for illegal trading and sentenced to 5 years in a labor camp. After 3.5 years, he was released and expelled to Afghanistan, eventually reaching the UK. Yafa was also under suspicion and finally left Kokand in 1932, eventually joining Misha in London. Bukharan Jewish Community have their own dress code, which was similar to the surrounding Asian cultures that influenced the community. They also had their own particular traditions as well. At Bukhari Jewish weddings today, some brides and the close relatives will wear the traditional kaftan, the long robe or tunic, like this one. This beautiful, unique object tells us a little bit about a Jewish community that is perhaps less well known and underrepresented. While we are able to share some information on this unique community, we would still like to learn more about their unique form of Judaism. If anyone has any links to the Bukharan Jewish community or any other community that we don't hear much about, we would love to hear from you, and feel free to comment below this video. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Please do join us next week, where we will be exploring the rite of passage of Bat Mitzvah by looking at a Bat Mitzvah photograph. Please do take care. Enjoy your week. Goodbye for now.